Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so I turned on the camera impulsively because I'm like, let me set up my food, but I'm like, nope, nope, nope. Let me give them this information literally right now. So right now, I'm thinking about the fact that I saw Kyrie Irving all over Brooklyn Nets. How do you say this? Their sites. Just about everything they got has him posted up. He had a microphone in his hand. He was talking to the crowd. He's getting enriched with the Nets organization. And everybody in Lakerland is listening to the rumors of the Jazz rumored trade. So it looks as if the Lakers are done pursuing Kyrie Irving. Well, there are certain things about this situation that look on its surface very concerning if you're one of these Laker fans who want Kyrie Irving like myself. But if you're also a Laker fan like myself who watches this channel, or of course myself being myself, you also understand that all of this is to be prepared for. This all looks a certain way, and it's exactly what we expected to see. In fact, it's what we suggested should happen before it happened. If I didn't know any better, I'd say Kyrie is watching my channel. But nevertheless, the idea is to get back enriched with the Nets so that you can keep the 5 years on the table. Why? Because KD is still holding out, and that is your leverage, we've concluded. Now, of course, this is all just us putting tea leaves together. We don't know nothing. I don't know anybody. I haven't talked to anybody, so I could be very wrong. But this is how it looks. This is all making sense to me. And it's all playing out exactly the way I thought it would, because the market itself, because of the Rudy Gobert trade, as we said a million times, has made it so that everything's price tag is out of whack. So now, as we look at how to fix the price tag, the only way anything is going to get fixed is if people get a chance to look at the players that are otherwise going to be moved in some of these bigger deals and see what actual value can be from a physical standpoint. Because right now, everything's hypothetical. You don't know who is what. So all these rumored trades about moving this player and that player and this player and that player, the only real understanding is that these players need to be moved in terms of their contracts. You're thinking about the business of basketball in each and every one of these situations, not necessarily the fit first, because everything else is about, what can you do for me physically? And in this case, you really don't know until you see the players. Yeah, we think they're having great off seasons. Some of them are coming back from injuries, others are not, things like that. But you just don't know how a guy looks. Has Father Time caught up with a guy over the summer? Has a young player gotten better over the summer? Has he gotten taller? These little things can make the difference between the price tag of a piece. And those pieces are going to be the pieces, again, used in moving KD, moving Mitchell, moving this, that, and the third. So otherwise, the pieces that you're going to move in these trades ahead of time are going to be just contracts that need to be moved for reasons of basketball business. That's what I'm saying to you. Like, okay, I got to get rid of Patrick Beverly so I can open up situations as a Utah Jazz team. I want to move Bogdanovich and Clarkson because we're blowing up a whole team. So it doesn't matter if these pieces fit together in places that we're sending them to, because they're just contracts that need to go. In the Lakers situation, Westbrook, same thing. It's a contract that needs to go. We don't care. Just get them out of here. You see what I'm saying? These are not pieces that are actually weighable pieces, which means that it's not gonna structure the market in such a way to where KD can get moved, and thus, see the domino effect of this. Kyrie Irving's still in a space of standstill because KD can't move. Do you see what I'm saying to you guys? Like, the Donovan Mitchell move can get made so long as everybody's willing to move these little funny contracts around to make it happen. If everybody's willing to give up the draft compensation that Danny's demanding, this deal can get made. However, the move that's going to make the market reset is the move that's going to get KD out of his situation, right? Because he's the one that's with the 4-year deal at absorbing an amount that's going to garner the young talent more than likely that has to be evaluated. Do you see what I'm saying? So as I look at this situation and I say that, I'm like, all right, well, Kyrie's team and everybody, I'm sure they understand this, very much so. They understand the landscape is at a standstill, and that their circumstance cannot necessarily be affected by whatever this move is, if this is even possible. So he needs to get back over there to Brooklyn, get reacclimated with them, still see the leverage of KD's trade value, trade requests, as a means of him possibly, just very slightly, possibly getting a deal that he can agree to, that gives him multiple years. And so that's what it comes down to. But then I look at the situation and I say, well, here's the problem. It appears that there may be a power struggle there. Now, unless the Brooklyn Nets are coming off of their contingency demands upon Kyrie Irving, and maybe him getting reacclimated today can help with that. Maybe not, I don't know. But what I'm saying is they could start the process of maybe him having a better relationship with the team. Maybe he can get them to remove some of those contingencies and ultimately get a deal that he would be willing to agree to. And that's why I think he went down there today and did all of this. Because he's playing the game. You got to keep the door open, man, because at the end of the day, at 31 years of age, you got to get locked up into multiple years to secure your time in the league. And unless Jeannie Buss is just telling him, hey, Kyrie, come on in, we're going to give you exactly what it is you're asking for, then he has to keep that other possibility in motion. It's just business of basketball. That's what I'm saying. It's ruining the game and the product of the floor. This is what I was saying in my previous video. And so this is what you're seeing. Instead of what, the Lakers are dreaming of putting together, it doesn't seem possible. So you get more so what the Nets would rather move on from. Essentially, it seems like it's kind of one of those situations where the business of basketball is getting in the way of the art form in that regard. So the product is compromised, as I said. But nevertheless, the Nets do have a star-studded team, so it gives you the guys of this being a great situation, and maybe they can overcome it and win. But I still think that before the season is over, regardless of how the Nets are doing, they're going to be looking to move on from Kyrie Irving. That's what it really comes down to. Regardless of what we saw today, regardless of how the team's doing, they're still going to want to move him. And the question is, when they do, where is he going? You know the answer to that. The Los Angeles Lakers, unless the Lakers have lost interest by then, at that time. Now, how could that happen? How could that possibly happen? The way that could happen is one of two things, in my opinion. One, they could lose interest if for some reason Kyrie gets hurt or something goes wrong on his end, and his value goes down, and suddenly, hey, we don't want to play anymore. That could, in some weird dimension take place, but not in real life. No, that's not going to happen, because he's that talented. Now, the other aspect of that could be because the Lakers players have emerged in some strange way. Maybe Kendrick Nunn's broken out and had an all-star season or something like that. Maybe Austin Reeves takes several steps forward, and now we have that position solidified in such a way to where the Lakers don't want to give him that opportunity this season. Do you see any chances of that taking place? Absolutely not. 0% chance that happens as well. I love the young guys, but they're not going to step up to that degree to where we say we don't need Kyrie Irving this season. Hell no, it's not going to happen. Scottie Pippen come out and score. He could average a double-double and be the Rookie of the Year candidate, and the Lakers are still going to want that piece for this season. And probably will have to throw in Scottie Pippen to get Kyrie Irving, and we'll do that at that time if it makes sense to him. You see what I'm saying? I don't see any scenario where the Lakers don't want Kyrie. So I don't see them giving away any pieces that's going to give them an opportunity to get Kyrie, unless they know for a fact they can't trade for him right now. Or at the deadline. Because at the deadline, you're likely going to still need some of the same pieces, even though the price tag is going to be different, because you have him at an expiring contract for half a season, so it's definitely going to be different. But the Nets are still going to want stuff for that player that we likely would have given up in this secondary move, that they are not going to probably want in that trade. So, as I concluded in the video, I talked about it. I don't think the Lakers are going to make any move with the Jazz, and that's one of several reasons. But I also don't think Laker Nation should be caught off guard by anything they're seeing in regards to Kyrie Irving. I see a scenario that is the Lakers are reacting to LeBron James not signing his extension. Scenario behind the scene is to where they feel the urgency to make a move in response to him not signing. Okay, we haven't gotten Westbrook off this team. We got to hurry up and get him off this team. Here's the problem. to hurry up and get him off this team, you're giving up stuff that's going to allow him, LeBron James, to have the piece that he's telling you he wants on this team, Kyrie Irving. So that's definitely going to hurt your relationship with LeBron James if that's what it is that you're trying to do. Make him happy. Get him to sign. Yeah, no, that's going to keep him from being as pleased with the circumstance because now he can't bring in that please. So now you look at yourself and say, if you're not happy with LeBron James and you want to do something to piss him off, why don't you just stop all of this and trade his expiring contract? Since he hasn't signed and you were mad at him about it. That's logic. If you're going to break up with LeBron James, you do it correctly. You don't sit up here and go for tit for tat and bring in pieces he don't want to play with and force him to run. That is a self-destructive decision and something that I don't think makes any sense at all. There are a lot of other things that make more sense than that to do. So I don't think it's happening. Plus, in doing so, you would be overpaying for pieces, some of which that you may be able to get later on in a buyout. So all of that is just crazy to me. None of that makes any sense. None of that aligns with how the Lakers organization has been moving over the last several weeks. So as far as I can tell, none of that. None of those tea leaves make any sense. What does make sense is the initial thought that I had in the first place, which is because everybody's at a stalemate, it looks a little more likely that the Nets cave and just pay Kyrie. That's what the tea leaves really show me. But that still is a very, very slim to none type of situation based on the power struggle between the front office and Kyrie Irving in regards to taking the vaccine or the potential of possibly needing to take the vaccine in the near future. The Nets, their responsibility at this point, regardless of where they feel ethically, is to make sure that they don't have him missing at that price in any scenario. It's not even about, to a degree, I'd have to admit, it's not even about forcing someone to do something they don't want to do. In their case, it's more so about preventing any and all chances of a catastrophic event that they've already had occur. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, I got to patch up that hole. You know what I mean? And this is how I have to do it because it was running for the last 6 months. And so, yeah. Kyrie, you must take this jab because if we don't cover our backside, it's going to be bad for us again. And what he's saying is, no, you're not going to force me to do that. I'm standing on my firm square. So at this point, it's in the best interest of both parties if they're going to do that to move on. You see what I'm saying? So if I've concluded all of this in my head, I already have all that in my head, then I'm not going to be moved by the bluffing of these moves or Kyrie with the microphone. Because I understand that it's still going to come down to two people sitting down saying, okay, are you going to give me what I want? And that person is going to say no because it's against my beliefs. And he hasn't wavered on his beliefs at all. When it mattered most to take the shot, he didn't take it. So why is he going to waver when it right now doesn't even matter to do so? It's less likely he's going to be needed to do so, so therefore he's going to be more likely to be willing to do so. Makes no sense. No sense. So, that is what I see there. And plus the KD situation, listen, all of this being said, KD was not there holding the microphone today. His trade request still stands. And so, I have concluded that trade request is in place, as I've mentioned probably 3 times already, speaking in circles, as a means of giving Kyrie the leverage to also get that contract. Why does KD want that contract? For Kyrie. 2 reasons. 1, that's his boy. I want my friends paid too, especially if I got paid. You feel me? I want my friend paid. 2, around the same timeline. If he gets on for a 4-year, 5-year deal, our team's set. Bam, I got my core. The core that I believe in, the core that I wanted initially was me, him, and James Harden. Couldn't get James Harden. Fine, we'll replace James Harden. But I got my guy. 4 years, just like me, in the spot we wanted to be in. Let's run. Let's do it next year, too. Let's do it next year, too, because we got each other, and that's what we signed up for. Everybody's paid. Everybody's happy. We can win championships. That's what we believe. So that's what it is. But like, obviously, there's disrespect in place now. I think KD, if the reports are true, for which I have no idea, but the tea leaves tell us clearly he's not happy because the trade request hasn't been rescinded. So if you're going to look at it that way based on his previous behavior, you would think that he feels disrespected. Disrespected to a degree to where he's not stepping off of that square, because he's viewing this as the Nets asking his friend to change his beliefs in exchange for his value, which he probably feels is severely underpaid to begin with anyway. So he's not going to step off that square, because it ain't even just about the friendship. It's about, well, they're going to ask me to change my beliefs too. They're going to ask my son, if he comes to the league, change his beliefs too, to get his proper value. Whatever that belief may be. Where does it begin? Where does it end? Slippery slope. Very. And so that's what we're talking about here. It's not just a health issue. It's a belief issue. It's about forcing you to, forcing me to do something that I don't believe I should do in exchange for my proper value. Or even more so, me standing against that and then having to deal with whatever the word would be, the repercussions of such. You coming back at me for that. How they call it? It's retaliation, basically. Structured retaliation for standing up against said beliefs. See, that's the slippery slope the NBA's on, whether they realize it or not. And I get it. The presence of the situation meant that you have to be, you got to take the shot. Or so we thought, whatever. But the point is, this was the slope in the beginning. This was always the slope of forcing people to take the shot. Institutions were going to have to deal with private citizens not wanting to take it. This is just a very, very, very public version of that situation. And it doesn't end when the vaccine isn't present, because the presence of COVID is still here. So again, with the president saying he has COVID, and a lot of other people saying they have COVID, the Nets have to protect against this. They have to. So all of that is so clear, man. All of that is so very clear. We're not losing sight of that just because somebody put some stuff on the screen and say, hey, this guy could go for this guy. That guy could trade for this guy. Yeah, that's nice. But like, is Kyrie gonna take the shot? Or is Joe Tsai gonna say it's fine for Kyrie not to take the shot? And if so, is that responsible for Joe to do that with his business? Probably not, based on what just happened. No. And so, here we are. If this trade takes place, if any trade takes place, in my opinion, in regards to the Lakers, it'll be because they think that Joe Tsai is going to cave or Kyrie's going to cave, in my mind. They've concluded that one side or another is going to cave, because that would mean that they likely are not going to get him. If Joe Tsai caves, then, Kyrie signs. If Kyrie caves, then of course Kyrie signs. So yeah, just wanted to check and make sure I'm making sense. That is what I see there. And I don't think it's logical to think either side is going to cave. I don't think it's logical. No. And you know what's ironic about this whole thing? That Kyrie is standing next to a guy who didn't cave. Ben Simmons. I think I'll leave you with that. My name is BDL44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.